good, and welcome back to Potential Mayhem with Aaron. It's been one of those weeks where chaos, controversy, and competition all collide. From the Rams letting one slip in dramatic fashion to playoff races tightening up across the league. Plus, major movement in the NFL, NBA questions, CFP madness, and a year in music that proved the culture is far from dead. Buckle up, because as always, this has potential for mayhem. Let's get into it. All right, this week the NFL announced the players selected for the NFL Pro Bowl. You can see the complete list for each conference with their selections. The Rams have 4 players selected to go through, though we know they should have named replacements because since we're working towards a chip, Stafford, Puka, Verse, and Young are our 4 selected to the Pro Bowl. Shout out and congrats to all 4 of those guys. They've showed up all year, been key contributors to our success for sure. They've been incredible this season and much deserved. Another notable selection is the Chargers' Derwin James. Despite the narrative surrounding fans' lack of interest in watching the festivities, being selected is still very much a huge deal and taken into consideration when considering their impact on the game. There's been some division in people's perspective on the status of hip-hop and rap. There are some critics who feel the genre is down bad, and some are pointing the finger at Kendrick and Drake for what happened over a year ago. Then you have us who feel the much-needed cleanse has made way for correction, and 25 has been a great reflection. We got some heat this year, some of which I highlighted when it dropped, others I want to mention here, so let's dive into what got us bobbing our heads throughout the year. Alright, so Complex released this list of best albums for the year. We'll only mention it to ensure we don't leave anybody off that released this year, because it was a bit of a resurrection for some artists. The DMV united and set the world ablaze, while Atlanta unified along with Metro and gave us nostalgia of those old 9 glory days. Nas took us back to the bridge with Premiere in the 90s. We kicked off the year finally getting the performance we had been waiting for. Super Bowl halftime show by Kendrick Lamar at 133.5 million viewers. That surpassed all Apple Music performers as the most watched halftime performance, and it did not come without any controversy. From angry viewers who complained about their inability to comprehend what he was rapping about, to his wardrobe selection. Some tried to come at the king for his Celine jeans, to the design of the set and the storyline. The gems that were dropped, the use of Uncle Sam Jackson. There were some upset with Serena being present. He even triggered the potential of a lawsuit by referring to it throughout the show by teasing viewers with the performance of Not Like Us, and Uncle Sam narrating the quiet parts out loud. Then blowing the lid off by performing it, as well as TV off with Must Have Been present. I mean, that performance damn near dominated the Eagles BTA to the Chiefs. That game wasn't close, and that opened the door for that performance to steal the show. K-Dot and SZA went on afterwards to go ahead and host an electric run of a world tour. Then Cardi dropped with 3 surprise Dot features. The album pretty much lit the spring up and carried us to the summertime, which was interesting because there was a period of stagnation. The feeling of, what's next? Then there were some stories coming out surrounding the return of the Clips. The story caught my attention and started gaining traction was when the Clips announced they were leaving Def Jam after differences in opinions surrounding the verse that is currently being discussed as Verse of the Year. Rock Nation assumed as their representation and completely rocked the album rollout like an early 2000 release for hip-hop royalty. First they released Ace Trumpets, that turned out to be a warning shot though, because that was followed up with So Be It, that addressed specifically Pusha T's issue with Travis Scott. By this time we were all ready for the album, and they did not miss. Let God Sort 'Em Out has been regarded as hip-hop's shining moment this year, culture reset that has been desperately needed, the new standard, and considered the favorite for rap album of the year. We also got Metro to enter the chat with A Futuristic Summer, with the fallout of Kendrick informing fans of the way Atlanta artists have been misused and mistreated by Drake and his smash Not Like Us. Along with many awaiting the results of Young Thug's RICO case, plus the narrative surrounding Gunna, despite him releasing another successful album entitled The Last One. A number of Atlanta artists have been silent, many choosing to continue their support of Drake despite Metro and Future's involvement. Metro swung back in one of the most brilliant ways possible, considering 21 owes Metro all the credit for his success, yet continuing to support Drake because of the success he was able to attain from their collaborative work. Metro dialed back into a time where music was less political, less edgy, and lighthearted for the fun aspect. Just what the summer needed. But he didn't do it alone. And he didn't call on the same cast as heroes and villains. Instead, this time, played on Kendrick's verse and tapped into Atlanta hip-hop royalty. From producers to artists while breaking new artists onto mainstream, we got a mixtape style album with DJ Spence hosting, then different sections with sounds echoing the summer of 2009. He brought in Zaytoven to collab with production. He had Travis Porter remind us of their talent. Roscoe Dash returned to receive his flowers. Young Dro got his opportunity to showcase to this generation how he mesmerized the world after Ain't I. J Money returned to remind us what his first name, last name was, as well as the return of Waka Flocka. This was impressive considering the fact that it appeared Atlanta had been cooked. He still had heavy hitters such as 2 Chainz, Gucci, Future, and T.I. featured, but it was the inclusive way he chose to pay homage to the sounds that brought nostalgia to us all that were present. Not get into the politics of the rap beef, provide some good, clean fun, giving a platform to those that they wouldn't have been able to reach as many as they did with this album. But also taking an artist that was sizzling in Atlanta and YK Nice and turning her up 10x. She might have had the glow up of the year with Take Me Through There. A play on the hit Up Through There, that particular song became the culture song of the summer. With college and NFL players doing the dance as a touchdown celly, then a viral sensation with the dance, then YK Nice's verse being used in comedic shorts. Complex acknowledged the song's significance through though there seems to be little media coverage, but in general, I think that's been the response from many, as this was the year for many of indie media companies to get theirs all. Rock Nation was behind the Clips rollout, so you had tons of interviews and coverage. There wasn't the same energy for Metro's release. It seemed like plenty tried to ignore the release or punish him for not giving them Heroes and Villains Part 2. But in a climate where critics say everything sounds the same and everybody sounds the same, Metro chose a regional sound that was clearly defined. Yet the work, and he was rewarded by the cultural with undeniable success. That album was up. Next, we got the Tap the Glass. Tyler popped out with another solid release for the summer. Don't Tap the Glass. It was a surprise release and showcased Tyler rapping. He was getting bars off while still giving us brilliant display of his gift at making music. Without a doubt, he could put some songs together, and that album still goes hard. Cardi put out a solid album with Amada Drama, the ladies ate up. She gave anthems, gave some real shit. She did her own brilliant promoting, utilizing social media correctly. She showed her ass on the highly anticipated second album and did not miss. So much so, it sparked a back and forth with Nicki that made Nicki announce her spring release plans in 2026. We ain't even made it to the new year, and Nicki has since damaged herself so much that album should probably be shelved until further notice. Dave East dropped a few times throughout 25. Early in the year, a collab album with Ransom, The Final Call, which coincided with Malcolm X's assassination. Solid project. I kept it in rotation heavy, which was followed by Fine Dining, another collab with Young Chris, this time out of Philly. Another solid project that gave us plenty of bars. Then Dave provided his solo project, Karma 4, that has the classic East formula. A bit of a different feel with the skits and narration. But he gave you that feel by bringing in Stove God to remind us he's the one, not the two, baby. The lead single, Havana, to give you that laid-back, cool vibe. Then he got the record that stands out to me with Jeremiah, Stand on That. Then there's one of my personal favorite Jones, Desperation with Neek Bucks, where they really do a great job painting the scene of how we all got to this point. Where they at now, where you at, whether you got it or you don't. Then Wale set the world ablaze with Everything's a Lot. What's there not to say? I think the most accurate post I saw was Wale made the album fans been begging Drake to make. And I could see exactly what they mean when you listen to the content. Wale addressed how life is currently in his 30s, dealing with his mom, being unmarried, alcohol abuse that's related to failed relationships, a host of different intricacies, all while keeping us entertained with the much-needed punchlines, similes, and metaphors. All the required ingredients needed to be judged fairly. Then Nas returned and gave us Fire with Light Years, collab with Premier, fully cooked beats by DJ Premier. Nas was on his queen shit, giving us signature stories ranging from him getting started to his internal conflict on his presentation. He showed love to street artists from previous decades as well as all-female artists. He showed love to Metro. He addressed the youth and sons. He had a lot to provide in reminding us what excellence looks like. Ghostface had a great release this year as well with Supreme Clientele 2. Also, a number of songs that stood out in my opinion. Nice body of work that allowed a vet to showcase his skill set in today's climate. 2 Chainz gave us Red Clay, which also went under the radar, that served as the soundtrack for his feature film that shares the same title. The ATL Experience was the lead and gave listeners a first-hand POV of the current status of Atlanta, which again in my opinion was a way for rappers to separate themselves amidst the drama. 2 Chainz gave us consistency, but this also felt like the most mature sound we've heard collectively. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm assuming much of the subject matter featured in hand goes hand in hand with the storyline. G Herbo released some fire. Yeast Talking was a hot one. I got put on Olivia Dean this year. She's not new. I just learned about her this year. Few Minutes has been my song of choice, though her release, The Art of Loving, has several joints on there too that I think you can relate to, you can vibe to, and the way she titles her songs make you want to be nosy. For me, when I see titles like Nice to Each Other or Man I Need or Let Alone The One You Love, feels like that whistle, and I needed to just go check out what it is that she has to say. As soon as she gets going, she's got you. Before you know it, you listen to the entire album and it's like, yo, run that one song back. But there's like 12 of them you feel that way about. So, Tim's got me in my feelings again. Also with Love is a Kingdom, fire. From the opening track where she put herself first to the song I Wish I Had What You Need. It's had me like, wait for you all over again. Wanting to give anybody in proximity a full performance. She flexed on this one with her performance as well, which can only mean one thing. Stay tuned. How big of a year for Leon Thomas? I got put on to Mutt Deluxe and was not disappointed this year. One Artist of the Year at the BET Awards, rock shows in LA. Another glow up this year with some great music that has staying power. So as far as the narrative being this was a down year, it's already been proven to be inaccurate. What did happen was the death of mediocrity and the removal of those with the wrong agenda. The U heads to Arlington to take on OSU in the Cotton Bowl. I have no dog in this fight, but it does feel strange that OSU is essentially playing a home game in Arlington. Ohio State fans travel well, but honestly, this one might lean towards Miami. Either way, Carson Beck gets his shot against that big bad Buckeye defense. And remember, the last time we saw that defense was the Big Ten title game. IU took them down. IU only scored 13 points from a team that averaged 41 per game on the season. IU averaged 251 yards passing and 221 rushing. Miami averages 9 fewer points, 262 through the air and 151 on the ground. Now, offensively for OSU, they have arguably the best player in college football. Jeremiah Smith lined up at receiver. So defensively, you would expect help. No one-on-one coverage for Miami. And to give Miami credit, their defense gave Texas A&M's Marcel Reed absolute hell. 2 turnovers, 3 sacks. This is a player who was in the Heisman conversations most of the season with only 2 losses. Now, ESPN Best has OSU favored by 9.5. OSU averaged 34 points per game, 266 passing, 162 rushing. On paper, this game looks more close than lopsided. Carson Beck can get loose in big games, sometimes to a fault, but he can also throw you right back into one. A la the Bama game last year as a UGA Bulldog as a reference. And nothing against Beck, but that tendency seemed to follow him to Miami. It's part of the reason why the U maybe didn't perform better during the regular season. Kickoff is Wednesday at 4:30. We will be watching. All right, so New Year's Eve, 1 CFP game, and it delivered fireworks. The underdog Miami Hurricanes defeat the OSU Buckeyes 24-14. They never trailed. Miami jumped out 14-0 in the first half. That's despite fumbling their opening drive in the red zone. I question how Miami would match up defensively because we tend to look at the Blue Bloods like OSU as having the beef up front, right? But Miami, I owe you an apology. I wasn't familiar with your game. They got after saying like the jersey didn't matter. The moment that will live on in CFP history, the pick 6 by Keontae Scott, the way that he patiently read that play, all the preparation, the execution, the confidence. Not just him. Miami never looked rattled at all in that game. Beck threw for only 138 yards, but he protected the ball. Fletcher ran for 90. Miami played clean football and let the defense terrorize Ohio State. OSU shut out in the first half, then got turned over. Jeremiah Smith tried to carry them, which was pretty much what I expected to happen. 157 yards, 7 catches. Probably would have did more if Saban had more time, but Miami finished with 5 sacks. 5. Uncharacteristic for an OSU team. Congrats to Miami, though. They covered, and they will be moving on to face the winner of UGA and Ole Miss. So Ole Miss comes into the Sugar Bowl, beats UGA 39-34. Another CFP surprise. Ole Miss entered this game fresh off the news. Their former head coach set to lead LSU, and not finish the season with Ole Miss with Alabama, and committed to, especially after a tight matchup earlier this year. Ole Miss looked sharp early, moved the ball, but stalled in the red zone a couple of times, 2 early field goals. Then Georgia settled in. UGA found rhythm offensively, but it came with some punishment. Stockton took shots, kept getting up, standing tall. Georgia had success running behind Nate Frazier, but they drifted away from it in both halves. Each time the offense stalled. UGA led by 9 at halftime. Then the momentum flipped in the second half. Zachariah Branch made some plays. Frazier did also, but that was before exiting with the injury. And then Trinidad Chambliss. Late, but when it mattered most, especially the throw in the fourth quarter that set up the game-winning field goal, very impressive. Was it rust from the bye week for UGA? Was it everything surrounding Ole Miss? We don't know yet. What we do know, Ole Miss advances to Miami. And as fans, we can't complain. We don't get Beck versus Georgia, but we do get that Miami defense versus what we got to see with Ole Miss's offense yesterday. That could be special. Could be a lot of stuff that's going on. So we'll dig into that matchup as we get a little closer to kickoff. All right, so by now I'm sure you heard or seen the results of the NFL regular season finale. Playoffs have been set, and teams are currently preparing for a wild card weekend. A number of teams that missed the playoffs have made announcements of coaching changes. Most notably and most recent is the Baltimore Ravens. There was plenty of speculation heading into that Week 18 matchup against the Steelers, questioning if any moves would be made had they not made it to the playoffs. After regular season blunders and losses, many critics had called for a new coach or new voice in the Ravens locker room. Missed field goal attempt late in the fourth may have been what ultimately sealed Harbaugh's fate. And now the question of who Baltimore looks to next looms, as this will probably be one of the more coveted positions available this offseason. Another desirable location will be the Atlanta Falcons, as they announced plans to move on from both head coach Raheem Morris and their GM. Cards, Raiders, Browns, Giants, and Titans will all be looking for new coaches heading into this offseason. There are a number of coordinators that have drawn attention with expectations to secure a few of those vacancies once the season has concluded. We'll keep you updated with all the new hires and moves made. The Rams finished their regular season strong with a 37-20 win at home over the Cards. That win, along with the 49ers' loss, solidified us securing that 5th seed. And despite the Panthers' loss to the Bucs, they got some help from the Falcons that helped put them in the playoffs. And we'll be traveling to Carolina Saturday to kick off Wild Card Weekend. The Niners will head up to Philly with the Seahawks at home for a bye. Other key matchups include the Pack returning to Chicago, the Bills at Jacksonville, which sounds very interesting, Chargers at New England, and the Texans in Pittsburgh. We can dive into those matchups later this week as we look forward to Wild Card Weekend. We also have the CFP coming up tomorrow. As for now, we finally get to focus on the postseason and prepare to make this run. Looks like these will be some good matchups, though, so we should have plenty to talk about next week.